Hello and welcome to hobby vlog number 123, and this week has been another week where the horrendous events in Ukraine has overshadowed a lot of the week and has really been impacting friends and family of mine and hopefully very few of you, but I want to acknowledge that straight up front. I keep politics off this, but yeah, it's pretty horrendous. And yeah, from the stories I've been hearing, really not cool at all. But you have to keep your life going on, and I hope that things go back to a relative normal and peace is restored. And so I've been doing my best to keep going on the vlog and keep going on the hobbying and not be too distracted and not allow it to destroy my cool as much as possible. So I have got quite a bit done, quite a lot of MDF work, managed to pretty much finish the church. And do a lot of other scatter terrain. There's a lot of stuff that's gone on that I've not filmed. Like I said last time, I'm making these other MDF buildings, which are pretty much finished as well. So I will do, probably during next week's vlog, there'll be a family picture, a family video showing everything together, including the church and the rest of the buildings. But I've also started just now, actually, the next TCU challenge, which I'm very excited about, and hopefully you will enjoy watching. So, bit of rambling, bit of an unusual intro, feeling a little bit unsettled by everything, but onwards and upwards, as Aslan said, and I really hope you enjoy the vlog. Let me know in the comments below what you think. As always, I reply to every single one of them, good, bad. I was called a clickbaiter by someone this week, which amused me no end, because it couldn't be further from the truth. But even that person I had a nice exchange with and replied to, so don't be shy. If you've got something to say, do say it. And otherwise, enjoy the video, and I'll see you again at the end. I've just been doing some testing and it worked, so now I'm going to film. I don't often do that, but I wanted to make sure that this would work. So what I'm going to do, woodwork, what I'm going to do is woodwork. So I've spray painted, which again I don't often do, spray painted with primer, grey primer all over the church. And what I'm now doing is coming along with a sharp tool, like one of the tools I use for clay, and a ruler. And I am scoring in the plank marks that I want to have on the outside of this. So it takes a little bit of time. I'm watching the sci-fi series of Dune while I'm doing this, which I'm enjoying a lot. And yeah, I'm going to come along, I'm going to do this, going to score the planks in on all of the sides, every side. I'm not going to make use of the paper brick patterns because I don't want to have any brick on this. This is a wooden church, I've decided. So all I have to do is come along and just score in like that, and there we have the planks. So once that's done, I will then come along with a wash over a lot of it to make it a little bit less stark. But I've got quite a lot of scoring to do. I've got to do all of this side, all of every side, frankly. Yeah, when that's done, I will do a wash and I'll bring you along for that. But that's what I'm doing right now, scoring these in. And what I might end up doing as well is some horizontal marks, so that that's where the edges of the planks are, because planks that long would just not exist. Anyway, yeah, nice to be working on this and just chilling out a bit. Well, that was a huge pain, but I've done it. I very nearly stopped, very nearly gave in. But I decided I didn't want this to be rendered like I've done all the other buildings that I've been working on, the Sarissa buildings. I wanted this one to be, from TTCombat, to be wooden. So I've carved out all the wooden bits. And technically, that does look okay now. It does need some more work. I do want to put a wash on it. I do need to paint the windows. But the next thing I'm going to work on this is the roof. So the next thing I'm going to do for this build is, I'm not going to use Sarissa's terrain tile, sorry, not terrain tile, roofing tile system. I'm actually going to use cardboard, and I have a thin strip I've been playing around with. I've not started it yet, obviously, but I'm going to use cardboard from this is a Weetabix box from Zero Box, and I'm going to make my own shingles to go over the roofs and over that roof as well. So yeah, but it's looking good. Once I've finished the roof, once I've done the roof, I think it's pretty much there. I'm going to need to do washes on the, just to like dirty up the walls a bit and this. But yeah, it's pretty much there, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I mean, it does look great. Once I finish this, I will start the next building, obviously. But yeah, coming on. So next thing will be doing some shingles for the roofs. So let's make some scatter terrain. And this is literally just broken up sprues from MDF kit. So if we have a look at this, this is how I've made these, and I'm going to make quite a lot of this. This is really good stuff to have around the battlefield. Say for example I wanted to have a bit of a wall and a bit of a low wall. All I'm doing is literally snap, done. There we are. So now I've got another little bit of MDF which I can glue to a tongue depressor like this, and then I can paint on my, and I've got some spare left over, I can paint on the same colour as I've used elsewhere, which is a grout mix, and that'll look great. And then I can put a little bit of kind of dirt on the tongue depressor, and I'm rocking and rolling. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to use a bit of super glue to glue this down, if I've got super glue still in this tube. Yes I do, good. So super glue I'm using because, very little, I'm going to have to get another tube of super glue. Super glue I'm using because it's got a really good grab. So PVA obviously gives a better actual adhesion. However, I am going to be putting on the filler, which is grout and sand, and that will also secure it. So I'm going to tear up quite a few bits of MDF, stick them to tongue depressors, and then when that's done I'll show you how it looks like when I'm painting this on, and then we'll have a look at finishing up the basing around it. Probably use some of Luke's, some of Geek Gaming stuff, just to finish it off, and that'll be rocking and rolling, and it'll look really good, and it'll work really well on the battlefield or on the gaming area, because this is some quite good cover. This is a good half cover. It's quite nice varied stuff, and it's free and it's recycling, and I like both of those things. Right, so these are now glued on to the bases, and simply what I'm going to do, I have this gloopy mess, which is my mix of grout that I use. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along and I'm going to paint it on. And I would normally require to do 2 coats of this. So don't worry if you don't get a good covering on the first coat, because you are going to come along and add to it. And you can put it on the base, and you don't need to be too accurate with it because we're going to finish off the base separately. But what you do want to do is get a good lump of it on there. Don't worry too much if it doesn't look like it's covered entirely. So I've got that done. I'm now going to do that for all of these. So every single one is going to get a good covering. And a good thing to do to put it onto the base a bit is that will actually help to make these a bit more hard wearing, because they will it sticks very well, this stuff. It's very hard, particularly because I mix it with PVA. So having a little bit onto the base will actually make it a little bit harder wearing and make it less likely to get damaged on the tabletop. So I'll get that done, and then bring it back for the next step, which will be doing the bases, because it's very quick and easy. This, you end up with really good scattered terrain. Doesn't cost anything because it's all waste basically, isn't it? It would have been thrown away. Another idea I just had, which I'm gonna try live on camera as I do, is to make use of some of these as templates onto the thin black XPS that I like using so much. So you can see here I've got this interesting shape. This actually came from the sprue for the station, as it happens, but it'd be a really nice archway, I think, which would look really nice on a tabletop. So what I'm going to do is I've just got a pencil, and I'm just going to mark some lines on it at these corners, and I'll come along with a ruler later and fill that gap in. And then now that I've got that, what I'll do is draw around the rest of this template, okay, like that. Now it doesn't need to be completely accurate. If you make any small mistakes, it's okay, because this could very easily be a damaged archway. So I'll just draw around that. So how I'm going to go about making these shingles is with strips of cardboard, as I've said. These are from a Weetabix box. And what I've done is I put them and cut them at 2 centimetre width, but with a guillotine, which makes it a lot easier. If you don't have a guillotine, then using a sharp knife and a safety ruler is also just as easy, if not probably easier, but I had a guillotine so I used it. And so what I'm going to do now is show you the process to get that. So you cut up, not all the way through, and relatively irregularly, leaving a little strip at the top, like I say, joining it all together. until you have cut all the way along the length. So I'll get that done. There we are. So now we've got a lot of tabs with a joint at the top. And what I then do is I just make these a little bit uneven, just to make it look a little bit less designed and more random. Now, if you're doing more modern roofs, you're probably not going to want to do this, but for these are going on a Western building, obviously, so you probably do want to do this. And that's it. You keep cutting along, and eventually you end up with a nice uneven row of tiles like this, and then they can be stuck onto the roof, overlapping like so, and will look really, really nice. So there we are. That's how I go about doing that. So I'm going to make loads of these. Probably put a film on. It's the sort of thing you can do quite mindlessly. I need a fair few because I've got a fair few roofs to do, and this not just for the church, which I'm doing this for, but I've got 3 or 4 other roofs for the other buildings that I've been putting together. So yeah, just it's a batch job. Just get it done, and I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like when we're actually sticking them in place and then painting them up. So there's a reason for this sudden burst of Western themed stuff that I'm doing, and some of that reason has just arrived. This is stuff for Gunfighter's Ball, the game. Unfortunately, not everything I ordered has arrived. I ordered it from Caliban Books in the UK. Been very good service so far, but I did order the starter set as well, and all I've got is the miniatures that I ordered on top of the starter set, so I'm waiting to hear what's happened with that other order. However, they have arrived, and they arrived pretty quickly. He had to order them in. He didn't have them in stock himself, so he had to order them in from the States. So there's a couple of card decks which I was recommended to get if I'm going to play it. They add a lot of variety and a lot of fun to the game. So when I come to play it and actually look at it properly, I'll go into that in depth. This is going to be just a very quick show. So I picked up a couple of dismounts, a couple of feet, because I think they're going to be more for the game, these foot ones. But the reason why I've been wanting this is these mounted miniatures. There's a mounted outlaw faction, the mounted vaquero faction, another mounted outlaw faction, and a mounted cowboy faction. So I there have a couple of Ike Clanton, Billy Clanton, some really cool characters from films that I love. So I bought these to go along with the war wagon project which I'm doing. So these are going to go on the diorama which I'm going to make of the war wagon. These are going to be the outriders that are riding along while the war wagon is being transported across country. But I'm also going to do it, as I've said, so they can be pulled out and used in the game as well. But that's why I've ordered all of these mounted troops, is because I want them for this diorama. And the knuckle duster miniatures are just superb. So I'm not going to open them just yet. I will do these on the channel. I will paint all of these boxes up over the next couple of weeks, and they will come on the channel, so you'll be able to see a far more detail what is actually included and how good they are. But I can tell you what, from first sight, they're pretty clean, and I'm pretty impressed. And I do love my metal miniatures, and that's what these are. So yeah, happy it's arrived. A bit sad that the starter box set hasn't come, but I wasn't going to get a chance to play anyway, was I? So in one sense, it doesn't matter if it takes another few weeks to get here, but hopefully it will arrive at some point soon. But yeah, some cool miniatures, and these will be really good to go with all the terrain I'm going when I finally do get the game to the table. We didn't just have the knuckle duster stuff arrive. I've had another Kickstarter arrive, and this is Moonstone. Now I'm going to do a very basic unboxing now for the vlog, and then I'm going to do a much more detailed unboxing which will come out very soon for the channel in a separate video, where I'll go into everything that there is in here, open things up and what have you. So this is just a very quick look, and you'll have to wait to see the main unboxing to find out what all else there is. So we have some tokens. These are actually made, these are actually plastic, which is cool. So we have these are the different factions in the game. I haven't looked at this at all, so you're seeing this at the same time as me. And there's another one. They've popped out a little bit in transit. Hopefully nothing's gone missing or got broken, but I'll dig into that when I do the full unboxing. What we then have is we have some of the scenery. So this is Bumbleton Farm, this is the Forsaken Forest, this is the Swamp of Suffering, isn't that great? And this is Macberg Market. Now of course I've gone all in, as you would have guessed. So this is pretty much everything you could buy in the Kickstarter without buying lots and lots of stuff that already existed. I already have quite a lot. They've done a 75mm scale miniature of Jada. That will be appearing on the channel at some point. I will have a quick look at it now. I'm not going to take it out of its wrapping, but you can just see just how beautiful that is. Very, very cool. So I'll be painting that up at some point very soon, I'm sure. Then let's see what else we've got. We have Diana Enraged. Now, I've already painted one of these up because I was absolutely blessed, and thank you again to everyone over there. They actually sent me one of these to paint up and video, and there is already a video of that on my channel for that. We have Callista, which is one of the Kickstarter exclusives, I believe. We have some dice. We have, these are tokens, so these are the forest tokens, which I believe is part of the rules for one of the new miniatures. We have Homunculus, which is another Kickstarter exclusive potentially. We have a whole stack of cards. You can never have too many cards, well you can. We have the player mat. Oh, this is something I actually added in. This is a player mat for when you're playing it, so that you can have all your cards in place, and it will make it a little bit easier to play the game. So that's just a little bit of a player aid. You do not need that. We have the rulebook here. The Arising. Now, let's do this. Not the greatest smell, sadly, but beautiful. Look at that. The Circus of Shadows come for the show. Admiral Poppycock is determined to prove his mettle against the pillaging pirates. There we are. Can't beat a bit of alliteration, can you? So that's the rule book. Oh, and in the front, oh cool, I was wondering where that was. I'm going to get this framed and put on the wall. This is, again, show it more detail in the main unboxing, but this is a beautiful two-sided poster. So I have to work out which side I want to display. And then last but not least, we have the Explorer's Handbook by Professor Percival Boffinsworth. So I think this is kind of like a short stories and background. It's a really well imagined, well realised world. And if you do not know Moonstone, then please look into it, because it's something special. It's more than just a game, it's a world, and the people that write it are wonderful people. They're really involved in the community. They run a really cool Discord server, and the guys that write it are there, and the guys that write the short stories and write the rules are always there and getting really involved. They run regular online games on a Wednesday in evening UK time. So if you want to play, you can jump on there, and they're really welcoming and friendly and lovely, so I can't recommend them highly enough. And I think Moonstone is a game you're going to see a lot more of. It's going to become much, much more popular just because it's awesome. So anyway, that's a quick unboxing, just taking about 5 minutes, which isn't so bad. What I'm going to do now is put it all back and then film the full unboxing, and you'll have to go and watch the main video for that to see inside all these wonderful boxes and hear a little bit more of what I think. So yeah, really pleased to have received it though. Thanks for getting it to me so quickly and safely, and everything seems to be there, which is always a bonus as well. So these are all looking great. You can see this is one of the foam ones that I did. Painted it red to do the bricks and make it look a bit more damaged, which I'm quite pleased with. I didn't think of that, doing that on any of the wooden ones, which is a shame, but hey, they still look great. So what I'm going to do now is to work on the basing, and I have my Scrubland base ready from Geek Gaming, or from Luke's APS as it was when I bought it. And I'm going to make use of that for all of the basing on this, and all of the basing on this project actually. So what I'm going to do is I have the quick drying basing glue, which was a little bit sealed in. That's a bit of a loop, a bit of a squirt. And what I normally do is I don't like using a brush with this, because it's latex based, and so it actually destroys brushes really badly. So we'll make use of a toothpick, and I'm going to try to drop that down onto another base, because I got way too much there when that burst. But anyway, yeah, so we'll spread some glue on using a toothpick, and then as simple as this, how you do this, and I'll finish most of this off the camera, but the simple way of doing this is you literally just dip it in, shake it off, and there we are. We have, or you can just drop it in like that if you're clumsy like me. There we are, we have a base. So I'm going to get the rest of that done on all of these bases, and then that project's finished and they will be able to go on the tabletop, and I'm very, very pleased. What I might do is seal it with watered down PVA, my terrain glue. Once I've finished doing this, when it's dried, I might come along and seal it as well. I'm also thinking about applying a matte varnish over it all, so maybe there will be a little bit more filmed actually if I decide to do that. But what I'm going to do now is base the whole lot of this in that way, so let's get that done. So what I'm going to do now is, finally, it has been a long time since I touched this, been busy with doing other things, but I'm finally going to come along and I'm going to start to put some colour, some greenery onto this base. Now, as I've said, I'm not going to do lots. It's going to be quite a simple basic colour for a base here, so this is going to be my flock. But what I am going to do is some static grass as well, which I've not done for ages. So this is my terrain glue, which there's a link in the description below of how to make it. It is literally just watered down PVA with washing up liquid. It is not a great mystery. And I'm going to continue using the shop bought flock because I want to get it used up for this. And I actually need to make some more of my own. So just sprinkle it on and let it dry, let the glue dry, and then go back over the top with more terrain glue, let that dry, and then it won't move anywhere. This is a technique I use for terrain pieces for gaming, and it's very hard wearing. So if you're making a diorama like this for display, you never have to worry about it shedding if you do the two glue process. So what I do is I use 2 different colours at least, and sometimes I'll use 3. So I start off and put the first colour on, and then I come along just to give a little bit of variety with a slightly different colour. Now I'll normally start with a darker colour. Honestly, I just wasn't paying attention and started with the lighter colour this time. It doesn't really matter, but yeah, so what you're looking at doing is just adding a little bit of colour and a little bit of variety. This is just to look like patches of grass on a very sparse, very sparsely grassed and rocky kind of part of the world. So there we are. I'll let that dry and then come over and seal it with the glue, like I say. And once that's all dry, then we'll come and do some static grass, and then it's finished. Well, it's not. I need to do the resin. Then I need to do the resin. But we'll do all the static grass and all of the other basing, and then I'm going to do the resin. So I'll bring you back for when I get to do the static grass. Alright, so I've got all of my shingles cut, or at least enough to film a bit of a segment. So what I'm going to show you how I go about doing this. So first of all, I've got PVA on my plate here, and I'm going to brush that on just along the bottom. And you work from the bottom up, because that's how shingles are laid, because they're designed for water to run off over them. So you don't start from the top, start from the bottom. Make sure that you don't make that mistake. I have made it once, and it is a silly mistake to make. So then what we do is we're going to come along, and I've got my got a strip of shingles here, and so I will start at this end, and I'll run that all the way along. And there will be some overhang, but don't worry about the overhang because we'll cut that off when it's all dry. So what I'll then do is apply some more glue over the top half of the previous layer and rinse and repeat. And you keep doing this until you've done everything. Now, one of the other things to bear in mind is that shingles should not line up 100%. So you either want to make sure that when you're cutting your uprights, cutting the vertical slices, that you're doing it in a way that will mean that you'll have a wide one at one end and then a narrow one and then a wide one. Or you might find that you actually have to trim off the ends a little bit, or maybe just like overlap it slightly and then trim after it's stuck like that one, just to make sure that they look right. So I'm going to rinse and repeat, and I'm going to get this all the way up to the top in exactly the same way, and then when I've done that I'll come back and show you what the next step is. You can see that I actually didn't have enough cut to do the whole roof, but that's fine. I can still finish this segment and then I'll go and do some more. It's quite a tedious job cutting it up. So the next thing that you do is lay it down, and I put it on top of metal. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make use of more of these metal sheets to weight it down so that it can dry and adhere fully. So just like that. So this weight applied evenly across, and then for here I can get like some of these uprights. This is where having small weights of different sizes is a really good idea, because you can apply a nice even pressure all the way across, and then when that's dried I'll then apply the rest of these of the shingles, and I'll do exactly the same on the other side. And then when that's finished I'll show you, but yeah, just leave that for a couple of hours and that'll be dry, and then it'll be time to, like I say, add the rest of them and trim it down. Really simple process, and it's going to look great. So when I've finished doing that, and I'll bring you back for the trimming, and then we'll go through the painting. So this is how I ended up actually weighting down this roof section yesterday. So a block of wood on its end and then weights on top, because if I take these weights off without like dropping them on my feet or making everything fall over, which is not going to be the easiest thing, it's quite carefully balanced. But if I lift this off, what you can see is the original one. It's not very obvious, but there's a little bit of a lift here. I've actually managed to stick that down a little bit with some PVA, but yesterday it was quite bowed. And so the solution I was doing before with it laying like that and trying to get weights in there just wasn't working. So yeah, I did that. I balanced it like this and then just put weights on it. You can also see that I did run out of cardboard shingles again, so I've got to cut at least another 2, I think. And then when that's all done and dried, I'll come back and I'll show you how I'm going to do the ridge. I'm going to do the ridge slightly differently on this one. If I grab one of the roofs from the other MDF buildings that I'm building at the moment, and I will bring them onto the camera in a bit. You can see that what I've done here is cut a strip and then done the ridge just with the strip bent over. Now with this one, I'm actually going to use a slightly different way of doing it. I'm going to make it look a little bit different. I'm going to have a slightly rounded ridge, just because this is maybe a slightly more decorative building, as it's a church. So I'm going to do a slightly different roof ridge line than I have done on those other buildings. But yeah, so next up, let's finish off this, get them glued down, get this top 2 glued down, and then I'll bring you back for the ridge tile, and then it's going to be a case of painting it, which is pretty cool. Right, so regular viewers will know just how much I hate waste, and the idea for the ridge tiles for the church is to make use of some of the leftover bits and pieces I've got from doing the rest of the roofs. So I've not only been working on this roof, but I'm working on quite a few others. You can see some in the background there. These are for the other buildings that I'm working on. So what I'm going to do is I have these offcuts. Now these offcuts are from where they overlap over the edge of the roof, and if you're very careful when you're doing the glue, when you cut them off, I just use scissors, normal scissors, to cut them off, then they all fall off separate, and that gives us these already partially done tiles. So if we take these, what we could do is we can do a slightly skew-iffy pattern to make them look a little bit more rustic down the opposite side, so they're still joined together into a strip, and then carefully we can separate them one by one like this into their component sections, because what we're going to then do is take an X-Acto knife and bend that around the handle to give it a nice bent look, and then that will sit on over the top, can be glued in place with PVA, and it will look really nice. The other method, as I've said, is to make it a slightly wider and then do the crooked cuts and the standard kind of like roof tile like that, but I want this church to be a little bit different. The only other thing to point out specific for this church is that at the bottom of the tower you've got this little kind of notch which is designed to fit into this gap here at the top. So what I'm going to have to do is leave that gap open. So I've marked where the extent is, and I just need to go, I'm going to need to put my tiles around that so that the roof will sit in nicely. Now the alternative would be, of course, I could glue the roof in place. I wouldn't have to worry about it then, but I don't want to glue the roof in place because that will maybe cause damage if it gets knocked, and storage is going to be harder. With the roof, with the tower removal, I can store it next to it, and I don't need as much height on my shelves basically. So I'm just going to glue my roof tiles either side of those little marks, and then the tower can always sit on there. So that's that. So yeah, I'm going to get this done. We're not going to take very long. A little bit of PVA, a couple of these, and put them in place. And then when that's all dried, we'll come along and I'll show you the painting, because I've been practicing and I am really stoked with how that is turned out. And so I'm going to show you how I do that, because it's really easy, really simple, and it looks great. I'm so pleased. So yeah, let's get these ridge tiles done and then we'll come along to the painting. Right, so those have dried. I actually didn't end up using the silicone-based glue because it was a bit of a pain with PVA just to stick it, and I got impatient. So what we're now going to do is show you how I go about doing the painting, and it's very simple. So I've got this gouache, whatever. This bought in Belgium years ago. Still got loads left, which is good because I like it. And I'm going to use a fair amount of it actually to do this. But first of all, what I do is I put it onto a plate like that, and I've got a brush here which is actually quite wet. I've just been using it with some watered down PVA, so it's quite a wet brush, and that's what you want. You want quite a wet brush, and you're going to basically paint on and not worry too much initially how you paint it on. You just want to get a good coverage. Make sure you get it in all the cracks, and get a good coverage across the area which you're looking at painting, like this. Okay, and I won't do all of this on camera. I'll just do a small subsection, this little bottom half, and I'll do the rest off camera, because then what you do very simply is brush down. I mean, it's not hard, and the brushing down gives it a really nice effect that looks kind of like the like wooden roofing tiles like they would have had, and that's it. Done. So yeah, so as you can see, if you see a little gap, like you can see just there's a little gap which isn't right, just come in, fill it in, and then brush down again. It's very simple. So I'm going to get all of that done, going to cover the whole of the roof with this technique, let it dry, and then I'll bring you along for the next step on the roof. And the final thing that we're going to do is we're going to pretty up this a little bit. Now I'm pretty happy with it. I still need to paint the around the edges of the window frames, which I think I need to do, but I also need to do a little bit of colour of dirt and weathering on the shuttering on the walls. Another thing to show, which I did a while back, actually I keep forgetting, is I have done the door like I said I was going to. This, I've glued a little bit of MDF on the back like that, and it stands up when it's in the doorway. It doesn't stand up on its own, unfortunately. Got that a little bit wrong, but it does stand up when it's in the doorway, and will look really, really good. So I'm very pleased with that, so I can open the door and shut it again. Obviously got a little bit more painting to do on that to pick out the metal work, which I'll do as well. So finish off the roof and I'll bring you back for the final detailing. So I did this one, I think, with the varnish, and this one with the watered down PVA. And I can tell you what, the difference is basically minimal, though for a while I thought the varnish was going to be much worse. So because watered down PVA is so much cheaper, I've just gone and done all the rest of them with watered down PVA. So that is all of these finished now. Let me bring the rest of them in, so you can see just how much I was able to do in only a couple of minutes effort. Really, it didn't take very long at all for me to get all of these done, and yeah, they're going to look really good on the tabletop. Just going to add some really good variety and a bit of cover and a bit of flavour to the tabletop. And if I need more, it will be very simple for me to make more. Now I also found afterwards, which was a bit annoying, one of the parts that I was looking for to make a template, and that's this. So what I might end up doing at some point in the future is I was planning on putting it on top of this one basically, so there would this look more like a church archway, very similar to what you see in lots and lots of Western films. So yeah, so that's something that I'm going to do in the future as well. Make some more. So there we are, really simple, good bit of recycling, and they look well on, and they add a lot of colour. So yeah, pretty pleased with that, and I hope that's been helpful. Getting quite close to finishing up all the rest of my Western stuff as well, which is good. Right, so now I'm going to show you how I'm going about doing the final kind of touches of adding some weathering very, very simply to the shuttering. I'm going to show you on the tower because it's smaller and easier to move around. So I've got my Winsor & Newton paint. This is raw umber, and what I'm doing is basically a kind of a modified wash. So I'm going to get some of the paint and I'm going to water it down a lot on my little plate here. And then, this is not very easy to film unfortunately, but what we're going to do is just going to put a little bit of that wash across the top of the section, and then I'm going to use my finger to drag it down, and it is that simple, and that will just give it a little bit of colour. It leaves most of the grey showing, as you can see, which is what I want. I probably put that a little bit too close to the top, so as is traditional, a little mistake is made, but whichever, it's going to look fine. What we do is we just drag it down, and it's a very subtle effect, as you can see, but it looks really, really nice, and it brings just a little bit more character to the wood. So I'm going to do that on that and also across the entirety of the church, and then the last thing to do will be a little bit, I think, on the roof, and then we're done. Alright, so now we're going to apply some static grass. I've not done any static grassing for a while. Last time was on the model railway, I think. So I've got the small static grass applicator. I've got my Warworld Scenics glue, which I like to use with my static grass. I've just found it to be the best thing. But we're not going to put all that much static grass on. I don't want to overwhelm this. Just a little bit of height, really. So what I am going to do is put a few blobs, and I could probably do this with tufts as well, but I wanted to use my static grass applicator, so there we are. And I'm making use of autumn static grass, and hopefully this is going to work. What we're going to do is we're going to hold it down and get the static grass onto the base, and then when it's dried, oh, that fell off, that wasn't very clever. Now that is a problem with that design. There we are, because it doesn't actually screw on, it's a push fit on this tiny static grass applicator, which is a problem. So I'm going to need to make sure to hold that a bit tighter. I managed to catch most of it. This is actually not going to be very easy. I'm going to hold it right down here like a pen. There we are, that's a bit better. And now, hopefully, it will work a bit better. There we are. Never let it be said that I don't make mistakes. Big shakes. Get lots of static grass coming out. I do have a smaller applicator even than this, but I don't like it even less than this one. My preferred static grass, so I've just knocked that, let's glue that back in, never mind. Not the worst thing in the world. My preferred static grass applicator is huge, but way too big for this, for the space I've got to work in here. So there we are. Right, I've just put lots and lots of static grass all over the place. I've managed to knock my stone off, and yeah, this has been quite a disaster actually, but hey, this is what hobbying can be like. So we can knock a lot of that static grass back into the pot. Any that misses the pot can just get hoovered up. Try and get as much as I can back into the pot though, because I am that cheap. And there you can see we've got quite a nice little tuft of grass sticking up. So I'm going to use tufts on the back. Two reasons. One, that was a bit more painful than I wanted it to be. And two, I do just want to have a little bit more colour at the back. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to glue my stone back down, but I'm going to make use of my stick of glue that I have rather than PVA, because PVA obviously is just not strong enough. Though it has actually broken the stone, as you can see, which is interesting. And then when that's all done, I'll come along, we'll do the resin, and that'll be the last thing. So there we are. First time doing a static grassing for a while. Wasn't the greatest success. But I think it's going to look fine. Alright, so the stone is put back in place now. And what I'm going to do now is put in some tufts just around the edge of this and behind this rock and over the other side. But I'll just do a couple here. And what I've got is a bunch of Geek Gaming stuff. So I've got Geek Gaming Tufts Dead here and Geek Gaming Tufts Autumn here. And then I've also got some Serious Play, which I really like, just for a little bit more variety of colour. The other thing that I always use is I use PVA as well as these. Even though these are supposedly auto adhesive, I always use some PVA. And finally, tweezers. So you want tweezers because otherwise you'll get these stuck to your fingers. So you pull them off the base with the tweezers. They do have an adhesive element, but just dip them in your PVA and then plonk them on your base. And that's it. It really is as simple as that. So I'm going to place a few of these all over. I'm going to need to get some more dead tufts from Luke, actually, looking at it, because yeah, this is my last batch and I've only got a few left. The other thing I've meant to say is I'm going to put a tulip in. I might go back and put a tulip on the first one of these I did, the Dino Rider celebrating coming through the finish line, as I think that might be a nice little theme, a nice little Easter egg to put on all of these different builds that are kind of the same style. So anyway, yeah, let's get this done, and I will come back very shortly to do the resin. Once all this is dried, we'll come and do the resin pour. So yeah, let's just get tufting. Alright, so here are the Blotz furniture or scatter terrain or whatever that I've picked up, including the piano and chair, and here at the back are the instructions. Now they also don't come with instructions, but you can print them out and you can see they're very clear. I'm very pleased with how they look. So we've got the upright piano and chair, we've got the privy, which is 2 sheets. Again, loving the fact that I've got the 2-sided colour printer, really good investment that. The Wild West church furniture, which also has 2 sheets. And the Wild West school furniture, which has 2 sheets. The thing that doesn't have instructions, and to be fair, it's absolutely fair enough, is the hitching posts. Because, yeah, why do you need instructions for that? Stick this into that, done. It's not going to be very hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble these, and I'll probably film little bits of it. I'm just going to do all of them together. I'll probably film little bits of it, like I say, but honestly they look like they're going to be really easy. But I'm going to assemble everything and then paint it, and then that will be a load more awesome that can go onto my Wild West terrain, hitching posts and toilets and what have you. Pretty useful for lots of different styles of game. So yeah, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do first, so I'll have a think. I am tempted by the piano. I think that sounds quite cool, so I might do the piano first. But yeah, just going to crack on with those now and see how much I can get built in an evening. Alright, so first of all, as I say, I'm going to do the piano. I decided to. So we've got the chair, and the chair is very simple to put together. Apply a little glue to the underside of one short end of the chair. So that's the short end of the chair. So we apply a little bit of glue there. And then what we do is that then gets stuck to the legs, which is these. Small, but not terribly small. Like that. Then just take the excess off, and there you are. And then the next thing is you apply some glue to the cross piece of the back, and then that goes like this, which is a little fiddly, but it's okay. And then you have a chair, just like that. Now that was very efficiently put together, and good instructions. It popped out of the sprue very easily, giving it 10 out of 10 so far. So now we're going to look at making the piano. So I'm going to pop the pieces out, and then we'll look to assemble them on camera. Okay, so they again popped out very nicely. A little bit of a problem with the piano, but I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to glue the piano, so this, to the front of the piano, which is the piece that I had above it. That. So you're going to glue that into there, just into those two little slots. And then what you do is you glue that to the side, like that, I believe. So yeah, that's a little bit less clear in the instructions on that section, but it's not terrible. So we're going to glue the two sides in there like that. There we are. And then I'll glue the other side on. That doesn't look right. That's better. There we are. I had the sides the wrong way around, so they actually are. I had one side. I had the left-hand side on the right of the piano and the right-hand side on the left of the piano. So that's why that didn't work initially. So we're going to glue that on there, and we're going to glue that one on, turning it around the correct way, on there. Good. Okay. So with that glued together, the next step is attach the base and top of the piano, and then attach the back. So let's have a look at this. So that will be the base, I believe, because it's got these little notches at the front here are the pedals. So that, got it upside down. That will go on here. Like that. There we are. A little bit of a challenge doing this in one go, because it would be nicer to maybe let this dry. But having said that, having not let it dry, it means that when I have a little bit of trouble, I can unpop it slightly and then pop it back in. So we're going to do this one now, which is the top. This is brilliant videoing, isn't it? This is classic YouTube. There we are. And then last but not least, we're going to stick the back on. And if that doesn't cause the whole thing to fall apart, which it very well might, to be honest, from experience, we've done the piano. So that took less than 5 minutes. And I think it looks really nice. I'll obviously be painting it, and I'll bring you along, show you how I'm going to do that when I do. But first of all, let's see if we can get this back on without destroying the whole thing. We can. There we are. Right. We have a piano. I'm going to clean up that white glue spill. Just use the brush to take the excess away. And there we are. Leave it to dry. We have a piano. Isn't that cool? A piano and a chair. Fantastic. What I'm now going to do is have a look at putting this privy together. So the privy has slightly more instructions, 2 pages. So I'm probably not going to get all of it done right now, but we're going to see what we can do. So first of all, what it says is remove the base, which is this. And I thought I'd actually film this so you can see just how easy these are. Having just spent a little bit of time working with Sarissa, I can tell you that these are a lot easier to remove than Sarissa. Much as I love Sarissa's kits, I had a fair bit of trouble at times popping things out of the sprue, but look at how easy that was. Just one contact point, a little bit of clean up, and it's done. So what you then do is you remove the base, and the front of the seat from the sprue, and you glue them together as shown, like that. So that's how you glue them together. So let's just get a little bit of PVA glue and do that. Let's see how much we can do in one continuous shot here. There we are. And then take the back wall and seat upper. So the back wall is that one, and the seat upper is the one with the thunderbox in it. So again, very, very easy to pop these out. Just 2 little contact points to snip there. And they comes out very easily. So there we are. And the toilet just there, done. And what it says is glue the seat upper to the reverse of the wall. Check the detailing is facing the correct way. So that needs to look like that. There we are. So that's a nice little bit of detail on the instructions to pick out on a mistake that would be very easy to make if you weren't paying attention. It'd be easy to glue that either to the side that has the detailing on it, and possibly with the toilet facing the wrong way. So there we are, that's that. So then what you do is you glue the back wall to the base, like that. So this is proving to be lots and lots of glue on that. Let's have a little bit less, don't need quite that much PVA. And glue like that. And actually it seems that it would be a good idea to put a little bit of glue on the top as well, because that's going to sit on top of the upright. There we are. And we have the toilet. Carefully insert the door handle into the space in the door and leave to dry. Right, so this might be where I have to stop, potentially. The door handle is, I think, that bit there. So we'll pop that out. Pop. Carefully, because you don't want to drop it. And I think it will go in from the front like that. Yes, so from the front you're going to be putting the long end in, as 'twere. That's what she said. So long end in, and then leave that to dry. There we are. Good. So that's the door done and ready with a nice little, it's not got a crescent on it, it's got a diamond. So while that's drying, what we're going to do is we're going to take the front wall from the sprue. Now the front wall is this one here, and this has something there and something there. I am really liking these. I tell you what, I am really liking these. And then that gets stuck in there. So a little bit of PVA glue. And stick that in there. And we have done the first side of the instructions. These are really, really nicely put together bits of kit. I'm highly recommending. Right, take the 2 side walls, which are these ones on here. They've even positioned the sprue in such a way that it's easy to work out what things are. So the side walls are to the side of the front wall. I mean, that's just good common sense, but you'd be surprised at how many things don't do good common sense. And then they go glue on the sides. High edge towards the front of the privy. Make sure to do that. So, to do this, we're going to put some glue down the sides, like that, and some glue on the bottom, but we're not going to put glue on the top just yet. So a little bit of glue along the bottom, like that, making sure that the wood grain effect is on the correct side, and making sure to remember to put some on the bottom, which I forgot. And then that you push it in and rotate it up, and it should slot in nicely, and it does. And then we'll do the same on this side. So glue on the sides, glue on the bottom, and glue on the top, and then slot it in place. Like so. And I put way too much glue on there, so I'm going to have to clean a lot of that glue off. A lot of spill, as you can see. You don't want to spill in the toilet. There we are. So glue the rear piece to the back of the front wall. Oh no, not yet, not yet. The upper, so get the door, upper support and rear piece. So that's these two here. So I've got the door, which I glued earlier with the handle. This is the rear piece. And this is potentially where it might get a little bit confusing, because looking at the pictures, it's not 100% clear what is going on. So place the upper support, which is this, on top of the door. There it is. On top of the door. Then insert the lower peg of the door into the hole in the base. So I think this is where I'm probably going to just pause, because there's glue around that hole and I want this to be a working door. So I'm going to pause there, but if you were more accurate than me and didn't have glue around your door, you could probably crack on. But what we're going to do is just going to pause that there and wait for that to dry. But yeah, very nearly finished the whole of this in one go. Just my slight clumsiness with the glue, which is stopping it. And that has been nearly 7-minute long clip, so it's taken 7 minutes to get there. So while I've been waiting for the privy to dry so I can come and do the door, you can see I've pretty much assembled everything else. And I did that because they're very good instructions. I'm very, very pleased. And frankly, today I'm not really in the mood for filming, so it was just made me happier to just get them done. And I'm really pleased we've got them done. So we've got a couple of pianos, we've got the school here with a table and some chairs. I've got the hitching post done, and over on my bench I've got the church furniture, which will go into my church, obviously, which I've just finished as well. So now I'm going to attempt to film the next step on the privy, which is actually going to be quite hard because it's a bit fiddly, but I'll do as best I can. Hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So what we've got here is we've got the three pieces that we need. We've got the door, which has the handle stuck in, and we've got what they're calling the upper support. Okay, so you put the upper support in like that on the little kind of notch on the peg, and then you slide the bottom peg into its place inside the privy, and then you slide the top piece through this gap in this front wall. And it is easier than I'm making it look, because I'm trying to stay on shot and keep my hands out of the way, which is making it a little bit more fiddly than it would be normally. It was easier to do this when I did it off camera, I can tell you. But that's basically what you're trying to do. So let me just see if I can get that done. And then there it is, nearly. There we are. And then slide it in like that. And it should be flush with the front. If you see, that's flush with the front. And then what we're going to do is with this piece, it's going to drop down on the inside. So put a little bit of PVA glue just along here. You want to make sure to not get the glue on the door or on the pivot point, otherwise it won't work. So just take that away, and then we're going to slot this like that. There we are. Okay, so that now opens and shuts. So what we then do is we glue the rear piece to the back of the front wall. Yeah, that's what I've just done. So it helps to hold the support the upper piece in place. That's fine. And then we put the roof and the frame on, and then we're done. So just grab my knife so I can pop those out. And yeah, we've got a privy. And I can tell you what, I'm just going to give a quick review on these Blotz things. They are brilliant. I have several more Blotz buildings to do. They're buildings, they're not scattered terrain like this. So I'm going to do at least one of those on video as well. Not going to do it now. But yeah, I'm going to do at least one of those on film as well. But I can recommend these very highly. They're easy to put together. They're easy to take out of the sprues. The instructions, while you do have to print them yourself, I suppose you don't actually have to print them. You could look at them on a e-device or whatever, on an internet-enabled device. That would be fine. If you don't want to print them out, I prefer paper. I'm a bit old school like that, and so I prefer the paper to to looking them on a screen. But yeah, you don't have to have them on paper. So yeah, they're just really nicely done. So I would recommend them. And that frame is going to go there. So a little bit more PVA, and then the privy is done, and that is all of the Blotz scatter terrain that I bought made, which has been a very nice evening after a pretty tough Friday. So it's been very nice to do that. That now should open and shut nicely. So there we are. There's the privy. So yeah, review. I recommend Blotz highly. I'll pop a link in the description below if I remember. But yeah, BLOTZ, and it's a UK company. So yeah, highly recommended. Okay, so I need to do a waterfall for this diorama. So what I'm going to do is I'll quickly show you how I go about doing that. So what we've got here is what we call in the UK cling film, and I believe that they call it sarin wrap maybe in America. And it is something which I am rubbish at using, and I certainly avoid using it for food, but it's what you need to use for this next technique, so you just have to kind of suck it up. So get yourself a sheet of this cling film, I'm going to call it that because that's what I know it as, and put it down onto a flat surface, and then get some clear silicone sealant for a bathroom. And what you do is you get a bead of this, and hopefully don't break your tool. That spring went then, and you put a solid bead across straight like this. Now that is the top of where the waterfall is going to be. The next thing you need is a toothpick, and this is quite simple. Hold down the wrap at the top, and what you're going to do is you're going to start dragging down from that top bead in straight lines. And what's important here is that you know what height you're looking at getting, because you can see even with the amount that I've put on, it's only going, what, 6-7 centimeters down. So you're not going to be able to get a huge amount of drop even with quite a lot of silicone sealant. So once we've dragged all this out, and you can see that it's making a really nice waterfall type effect. This is such a cool technique, I really love it. Actually one of the first things I ever did, in my hobby journey, was making waterfalls like this. And I actually still have one of them. One of the ones I made back then. So if you're not getting the length you want, then it's as simple as running another bead of the silicone halfway down and then continue pulling, and you can smudge it and combine it and make the waterfall as long as you want. Now don't go too thin, because otherwise it will not look realistic when it's actually on the model, particularly depending on the size and scale that you're actually looking at. But yeah, that's all you do. There's nothing more to it. And then you let that dry, and when that's dried you can then cut out the wrap and you can make use of it. But I'll show you that tomorrow. I'll leave that dry overnight, and I'll show you the next step tomorrow. But that is how simple it is to make waterfalls using clear silicone sealant. Some of these I'm not going to bother painting because, well, they're just supposed to be wood, but some of them I am. For example, the chalkboard is going to need to be painted black, and the pianos are obviously going to need to be painted because I need to do the white and black keys on the keyboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this MDF clear sealant, which I really like. It really works well. It dries very, very quickly, and it works as a very, very good primer for MDF. If you don't have this, just normal PVA is absolutely fine, but this is slightly better than normal PVA if you can get it. So I'm just going to prime up all of these pieces that I want to paint with this, let it dry, and then tomorrow I can come along and paint them, and then when that's done they'll be finished and they can go into storage and be used in photo shoots, which is the main reason why I bought these, and I've done these is for taking photographs of other things. So yeah, we're just going to quickly prime them up. As you can see, it doesn't take very long, and yeah, let that dry and then I'll paint them tomorrow. So yeah, probably prime them as well. After this is a sealant. I'll probably put an undercoat on and then paint on top of that. But yeah, cool. Pretty pleased with how this is turning out, this little project. It's been a very quick project, but the results are really good. So yeah, there we are. Get that done. Back later on this project. Third time lucky trying to shoot this. First time hadn't shaken the pot. Second time didn't turn the microphone on. So now I'm going to tell you about wood stain. So if you don't have any of that sealant that I've just mentioned, what you can do is you can buy wood stain, which literally is what you use for staining wooden decking in if you're doing any house renovations, and use that. It's a really good technique to get your terrain to have a particular colour. This is African teak, so it's a very dark colour, but it also seals it. So if you're hard on your terrain, or you're worried about people dropping water or spilling drinks or whatever, this is designed to keep wooden decking safe through summer, winter, autumn and spring. And so it'll be a really hard-wearing way to finish off your MDF kits. And it's really quick, as you see. I've just done that one, and really cheap as well. I've bought this years ago, and it's going to last me for another 10 years at the rate I use it. So it's a really good little technique. If you've not come across it, I highly recommend you think about it. So yeah, there we are. If you're doing wood, use wood stain. So my theme is, well, the theme for this 2 months is take a song and build something that is inspired by the song, or tells a story of a theme of a song, or something along those lines. And I have picked a song by a artist I really like, a Western artist, or Western, called Trace Adkins, which is called Chrome. And it's a fantastic tune. It's a really good fun tune. And in the song there are lyrics which basically is a guy chatting a girl up and asking if the girl wants to come for a ride in his truck, and she says, "Hell no, I want to drive." And I love it. It's such a good song. I will link to it. I won't be able to put the music in the video because of copyright issues, but I will link to it. It is on YouTube. You can go and have a listen to it. And he's a great artist. I've got lots of his music. So I have ordered a Mack truck because this guy in the song is driving a big black Mack truck with chrome and smokestacks pointed toward the sky. So as you can see, that's what this is. So I'm going to make this in 1/25 scale. What I also have done is picked up a couple of these, or a packet here. Obviously there's a couple of bending over girls. I'm not entirely sure that they're going to fit in with this theme. This one here is the one I bought it for. She's going to be the girl that is being chatted up, and that is also in 1/24 scale. These are good. I've used these kits before for my post-apocalyptic build, and they work really well. So I'm going to build at least one of them. And I've got another kit coming, which is the actual filling station that they're at, so that's on its way as well. And a final one, which is the bloke, like a cowboy looking trucker guy, who is also from these Master Box series. They're very good. I really highly recommend them if you're doing large scale dioramas. So these arrived today, so I'm going to start building them. I'm going to start making the figures, and I'm also going to start making the truck. Now this is going to be an interesting build. I'll put as much of it as I can on camera because I think it's going to be quite cool, but probably won't put it all on just because it'll also be a little bit samey at times. But yeah, really pleased that they arrived, and I've got most 6 weeks to build this diorama, so I'm going to have to get this made and then paint it black, and then put it into a nice display. So yeah, really excited about this build. I am getting more and more into large scale dioramas, as you'll have seen on the channel, and really enjoyed making the truck for the previous diorama, so I'm pretty excited to get this one done as well. So yeah, let's get stuck in. So here you can see what was inside the box for the Legendary 60s series on New Adventures, and you can see that there are the 3 figures here. The one that I want to do is this figure here, and this is the A sprue. So you can see that all of the parts on this are from the A sprue, all the parts on this are from the C, and this is from the B. So that makes it nice and easy. This here is the A sprue. I didn't even know this came with a cat, but it does, so the cat may indeed make an appearance on the diorama. So what I'm going to do is separate this sprue off, and then clip all the parts off from this sprue and put them in hot soapy water and wash them. And that's because you don't know what mould release was used to separate this from its mould, and if you don't do that, you might be alright. But if you don't do that, you might not be alright, and it's the most frustrating thing in the world when your paint starts falling off if you haven't washed your figure, and I do this for every single one I make. So yeah, I'll clip these off, put it into the wash, and then when that's done, I'll bring you back and we'll stick it together, which I think looks quite easy. The last one was as well, but yeah, first of all the wash, so let's get that done and leave it to dry. Right, so I just spent some time cleaning up some sprue lines on these as well, gave them a good hot soapy wash last night. And what I'm going to do now is start to glue them together, which is going to be really, hopefully, really simple. I'm going to make use of super glue rather than plastic glue for this, just because they're a little bit bigger, good big contact points, and so it's going to be a bit easier for me and with my clumsy hands to work. So you can see that you glue the bottom half together like that, and I'll probably come along and do a little bit of filling with some of my Mr. Putty, but it does go together quite nicely anyway. There we are. So we'll glue the bottom half together and then the top half, which is also quite obvious. And then probably what I'll do is I'll let that fully dry, fully go off, and then I'll do the rest. I'll do the rest off camera because it's just going to be the same thing, just gluing it together, sticking it together. It's pretty obvious how it works. One thing to highlight, which I have actually accidentally broken because I'm clumsy, is that she does actually have a cigarette in her hand if you're building this particular model. But I probably was going to snip that off anyway. So yeah, and I've actually just seen there's a little bit more sprue clean up that needs to do on that arm. But ultimately what we're going to end up with is one figure, so I'll get that all glued together and then bring you back when I come to do the filling. I'm a little bit disappointed with how that is at the front, having seen how cleanly it's gone together at the back. I might actually need to separate that again and do it from the front. Yeah, there we are, that's better. There we are. I might need to do a little bit of filling on that. But yeah, so I'll get the rest of that done and bring you back when it's all glued together, when she's a whole figure, and then we'll have a look at the filling. And my waterfalls have dried really nicely overnight, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it down here where it wants to fall, so from this bit down to here. So, as I said, the way you do this is you cut it off your sarin or whatever you want to call it. I think that my shorter lengths would actually have ended up being okay, so I'm just going to grab a tape measure, or not a tape measure, a ruler, and do what I probably should have done yesterday, which is measure the drop. And the drop is about 5 centimetres. And yeah, my shorter ones are going to be okay. So what I'm going to do is leave the longer ones on the wrap and cut out, just using a hobby knife, this section here. So there we are. Just cut that out roughly. I really don't like cling film. It sticks to itself too readily. So what you can see there is we have a nice kind of like the falling pattern that water has. So I'll move that out of the way and get this a little bit closer in. And what we can do is actually cut a little bit more of this wrap away. There we are. So we've got a little bit of a tidier shape. Now, it's too wide, but that's good, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it from the top and cut it down and then layer it underneath as well, so that we have a little bit more volume to the water. So that's the width we want, so we'll get that out of the way. See, it's sticking to me. It's so static, it really does annoy me. Go away. It's still stuck to me. Incredible. Managed to get it off my hands. So we've got a section here which can be, it's going to go the whole way down like you say, and then we've got this little other offcut which I've done, which I can then kind of layer in behind a bit just to give it a little bit more interest. So what I'll do is a little bit of super glue and do the back one like so. There we are. And the super glue is just to grab. We are then, once this is in place. We're going to come along with more of the clear silicone and we will blend it in so that it looks, so that there's actually water coming along the stream edge and water at the bottom. So the super glue is just to grab it and hold it while we're working around the edges. So with that done, let's get to the clear silicone. So we'll grab some toothpicks, because that's what I like to use. And what I've got in this jar here is alcohol, because alcohol is really good for smoothing this silicone sealant, and we want it to be smooth in places and jumping around in others. So what we'll do is run a bead of silicone sealant along the top, like so. And you need more than you think you need, if you know what I mean. So don't be shy. And then getting a little bit of alcohol. I mean, the other thing you can use, if you want to, is a sculpting tool for the more smoother areas. And what you can see is it really does, with alcohol on it, push this silicone sealant very nicely, and it doesn't stick at all to the metal. Whereas without the alcohol, it would be sticking to the metal. So you push that in place. You want to make sure that you're getting silicone sealant over the top of your fulls, because if you don't, then A, it won't look very good, and B, it might actually come unstuck. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do several layers, and then once we've done the top, then we'll do the bottom. So I'll put some music on, and you can watch as I do this. I will bring it slightly more into shot, put some music on, and you can enjoy as I finish this off. Well, there we are. That was the week. At times it felt like I was hobbying despite of rather than because of, if that makes any sense. And that probably comes across in quite chatty updates. I'm almost persuading myself to keep going by talking to the camera rather than feeling really inspired. But it does show just how useful that kind of having a hobby can be, because now I've got through the week really well, actually. I'm feeling much more positive now than I was. And I've got a whole load more cool stuff which I've done. I've learned a load more things, which is the best part of anything. And yeah, so there's win-win really. So just keep going, little by little, plod by plod. And not only will you keep going, but you'll end up with some stuff that you can be proud of. So there we are, that's my little homily from Beard. I hope you enjoyed the video, I really do. If you managed to get this far, then well done, it's a long one again. Yeah, I do appreciate every single view, and I appreciate every single comment. They really do put smiles on my faces. I've realised it's been a while since I've done a tea toast, so here we are. Cheers, a bucket of tea. Give it a big slurp. This is what really kind of powers me through my week. So yeah, cheers to everyone out there. Please stay safe. Peace in Ukraine. We need it fast. Horrendous. I hope any one of you that's directly or indirectly impacted is hanging in there and okay. Yeah, thoughts are with everyone out there. And yeah, please, as always, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.